Assalamualaikum students. Today we are going to discuss thyroid hormone. As I already told you that the main thyroid hormones are T3 and T4, and thyroid hormone is a general hormone. General hormone means that it is going to go and act on all tissues of your body, and it is involved in the biological processes. And this thyroid hormone is derived from iodination of tyrosine residues, okay, that we will study in detail. The secretion stimulation of thyroid hormone is by pituitary thyrotropic hormone, okay. The thyroid stimulating hormone binds to cell receptor. It goes and binds to the cell receptor, and then it stimulates the steps in the production and secretion of thyroid hormone, which we are going to study in detail. So iodine, you need iodine for this whole process, which you get from vegetables, fish, cereals, and it is about 150 to 200 milligram per deciliter of water. So this is the structure. This is tyrosine. This is thyroxine, that is T4. It has 4 iodine molecules. Then there is triiodothyronine, that is T3, which has 3 iodines that are attached to it. And then there is reverse T3, which is an inactive molecule. Okay, this is also produced in small amounts. So, the first foremost step for the synthesis of thyroid hormone, you need iodine. Okay, so this thyroid gland, which is like a butterfly gland in your neck, it uptakes this iodine from the plasma and concentrates it up to 10,000 times. Okay, this iodine enters the thyroid cell by sodium iodide pump. Okay, this is a co-transport that occurs that brings iodine inside with 2 molecules of sodium. Then this sodium is sent out again via sodium potassium ATPase pump. Now the first step is taking up of iodine, concentrating it in the cells, and that step can be inhibited by thiocyanate perchlorate. Okay, and the stimulators of this step are thyroid stimulating hormone. There is a process which is iodide trapping, and that means to trap iodine from plasma into the cell along the electrochemical gradient, so that iodine is available for the synthesis of thyroid hormone. Step 2, the iodine that is taken up is oxidized by the enzyme thyroperoxidase. Okay, that becomes an iodine molecule. The NADPH used here is from HMP shunt, and thyroid stimulating hormone stimulates this step, and the anti-thyroid drugs, that is like thiouracil, this will inhibit it. So these drugs are the drugs that will that you may need to give to stop the secretion or synthesis of thyroid hormone in patients where there is excess synthesis or secretion of thyroid hormone, that we are going to discuss in the later slides. So first step, you took iodine, then this iodine is oxidized to iodine molecule. Now this iodine goes into the follicular there is a protein which is thyroglobulin. Okay, this is synthesized by the follicular cell, the endoplasmic reticulum of that follicular cell, and this goes into the SNR. Okay, this thyroglobulin molecule is a large protein which has about 5,000 amino acids. These amino acids in total have this 115 tyrosine or tyrosyl residues. Okay, and out of 115 tyrosyl residues, 35 can be iodinated. So what happens is iodine goes into the SNR, and here this iodination takes place on the thyroglobulin molecule in that follicular space. Okay, so the formation of monoiodotyrosine and diiodotyrosine is made. They are produced. Okay, so now you have monoiodotyrosine. Remember, it's not thyrionine, it's monoiodotyrosine and diiodotyrosine. So first step is taking up of iodine, second is oxidation of iodine, and then there is iodination of the tyrosine residues on the thyroglobulin, which is a large protein, and there we make monoiodotyrosine and diiodotyrosine. So the fourth step is coupling of these tyrosines. Okay, these monoiodotyrosine and diiodotyrosine, they come together aligned opposite to each other, and this process is known as coupling. So they make, if there are two DITs, diiodotyrosine plus diiodotyrosine, they make tetraiodothyronine, which is our hormone T4, and if diiodotyrosine and monoiodotyrosine combine, they make triiodothyronine, which is T3. Okay, so now we have this T4 and T3. If you look at this diagram, it shows how iodine is taken up by the thyroid cell and then oxidized in the SNR space, and then there is iodination of this thyroglobulin molecule, and this monoiodotyrosine and diiodotyrosine are made, and from there by the coupling you have T4 and T3. Okay. So thyroid gland stores this hormone. Okay, and how it is stored? Thyroglobulin has 8 T4 residues per molecule. So every molecule of thyroglobulin has 8 T4 residues, and they are stored as colloid in the thyroid SNRs. So they are there as a colloid structure where the lysosomal enzymes can act, and then they can cleave this T4 into different things, and then it is made available. That we'll study. So when necessity arises, the thyroglobulin is taken from the SNR colloid back into the cell by pinocytosis. Okay, now this thyroglobulin is taken back into the cell by the process of pinocytosis, and then the T4 which was present there is liberated from thyroglobulin by specific proteases. Okay, these enzymes liberate this T4, and the activity of this enzyme is enhanced by thyroid stimulating hormone, and it is depressed if more iodide is coming. Okay, so it is depressed by iodide. Thus you give for hyperthyroidism you give potassium iodide as a treatment also. So the T4 that is generated in the bloodstream, the T4 is generated in the cell. Okay, now what happens? There is deiodination of T4 taking place inside the cell or in peripheral tissue, and wherever it can do. Okay, this deiodination is converting this T4 to T3, the active thyroid hormone. Okay, if you look at the diagram again, this diagram, you will see thyroglobulin is giving away T4, which is deiodinized to T3 and given into the plasma, where it binds to the protein bound iodine, and this is a protein that is going to attach this thyroxine. There are also albumin and transthyretin, and this is going to take this thyroid hormone to different cells. Okay, and then there is also DIT where iodine is released, and then it is again oxidized, and the process can take place again. Okay, so we were talking about T3 is produced by deiodination by deiodinase enzyme. Okay, so Salvage of iodine, how you can resynthesize iodine. MIT and DIT that are not utilized are deiodinated and salvaged for reutilization inside the cell itself. I just showed you the diagram. Okay. The inborn error of metabolism affecting this step is called deiodinated defect. In such cases, DIT and MIT are seen in urine. You don't have that enzyme that is going to deiodinate the MITs and DIT, and you cannot take out the iodine from them. So, you have this DIT and MIT that is being excreted in the urine. So, now it is given in the plasma, the T3, T4, it is how it is transported. It is transported in plasma by protein bound iodine, PBI, which I already told you, and bound from inactive but can be rapidly released and become active. Okay. Total PBI is 10 microgram per deciliter, out of which T4 constitute about 8 microgram per deciliter. Okay. So the thyroxine binding protein carries 80% of T4 and 60% of T3. The rest are loosely bound with transthyretin, prealbumin and albumin, and sent to cells for different biological, biochemical, physiological functions. So what is the mechanism of action? In the earlier lectures I told you that thyroxine acts via intranuclear receptors. Okay, so what happens? Hormone comes and it attaches to the specific nucleus. The receptor hormone complex fits into the DNA. Okay, now there is this complex binding sequence in the DNA for this whole for thyroid, and there are thyroid responsive elements. Once it is bound, there will be transcription, then there will be translation and formation of different proteins that are going to do different functions that are supposed to be done. So this is a steroid hormone mechanism of action. So factors that regulate your thyroid secretion. Thyroid stimulating hormone. Stepwise I already told you that oxidation of iodine into its active form and incorporation into thyroxine is done by TSH. Then uptake of plasma iodine increases with TSH, and release of hormone is also regulated by thyroid stimulating hormone. Then there is thyrotropin releasing hormone, which is secreted by the hypothalamus, and it releases the protein transglobulin. Okay. Then the plasma levels of thyroxine, by increasing or decreasing TSH from pituitary, you can regulate this plasma level of thyroxine. Okay. So metabolic role of thyroid hormone, as the biochemistry part, these are the most important things that you need to know. The role of hormones on metabolism of protein, carbohydrate, lipids and all. Okay. Now, if there is physiologically small doses, there is increased protein anabolism, and this thyroid hormone stimulates growth. But unphysiologically large doses of thyroid hormone is increasing protein catabolism. Okay, so in normal small doses it is an anabolic hormone, but in large doses, that is abnormal doses, it is a catabolic hormone. So thus hyperthyroidism leads to, if there is more thyroid hormone, it leads to muscle weakness and creatinuria, and that whole thing is called thyrotoxic myopathy. That means weakness of the muscle due to thyrotoxicity, the thyroid hormone's toxicity. It also metabolizes bone proteins, leading to hypercalcemia and osteoporosis. So calcium is taken out of the bones, put it in the plasma, giving hypercalcemia, and the bones are becoming weak, that is osteoporosis. The effect of thyroid hormone on carbohydrate metabolism. So in large doses, it causes hyperglycemia and glycosuria. Okay, so your glucose is high in the plasma, and it is going in the urine also. There is increased glucose utilization and decreased glucose tolerance, because this hormone increases the degradation of insulin, Thus, it is an antagonist to insulin. So, it acts as an antagonist to insulin, and it does not it does not decrease the hyperglycemia that you are combating, and this thing is like the growth hormone metabolic functions on carbohydrates. There's increased hepatic glycogenolysis. Okay, glycogen breakdown is increased, and gluconeogenesis, the new formation of glucose, is increased by stimulating the G6PD activity. So, it increases the G6PD activity, increasing the glycogenolysis and gluconeogenesis. It also stimulates glycolysis, breakdown of the glucose, increasing the HMP shunt and TCA cycle. So, it has effects on glucose by making glucose also and by utilizing glucose also, and thus glycogenolysis is occurring. So, there is decreased glycogen stores of liver. Lipid metabolism, it increases lipolysis in adipose tissue. So, there is lipid breakdown in the adipose tissue. So, you will have all free fatty acids coming in the plasma. It also increases lipolysis by increasing the activity of some enzymes like ATP, citrate, lyase, and G6PD. Okay. So, cholesterol synthesis is increased, but degradation is also increased. So, there is a balance going on. Synthesis is also increasing and degradation is also increasing. The bile acid formation from cholesterol is increasing by this hormone, and biliary excretion is increasing, leading to decreased blood concentration of cholesterol. So, overall the factors are decreasing the cholesterol levels. So, on lipoprotein, the LDL is increased in hypothyroidism and decreased in hyperthyroidism. If you have low levels of thyroid, the hormone, the LDL is going to increase, and if there are more levels of thyroid hormone, the LDL is going to decrease. Okay. The thermogenic effect. So, 1 milligram of T4 produces an excess of 1000 kilocalories. This effect is due to uncoupling of oxidative phosphorylation, and there is large doses swell mitochondria and increase the BMR. So, the thyroid hormone has this thermogenic effect in which it increases the BMR by uncoupling of oxidative phosphorylation. Okay. You studied it in bioenergetics, how this thermogenic effect can occur if there is uncoupling of oxidative phosphorylation. So, catabolism of thyroid hormone, once it is released, how much it lives. T4's half-life is 4 to 7 days and T3 half-life is 1 day. And T3 is biologically more active. So, T4 is a pro-hormone which is going to be activated by deiodination to T3, and only free form can inhibit the secretion of TSH. Deiodination in the peripheral tissue is done by the enzyme dehalogenase. Okay. And iodine enters plasma reutilized by the thyroid. Part of T3 and T4 are conjugated by glucuronic acid and excreted through bile, and deamination of T4 produces tetrag. If T4 is deaminated, there is a product that is tetrag, which is only 1/4 active of the parent compound. Okay. So, this is all about the catabolism of thyroid hormone. So, you have to assess the functions of thyroid gland. So, how would you assess? You measure T3, T4, you can measure the binding proteins, you can look at the plasma thyroid stimulating hormone, then there is a TRH response test, then you can look at the cholesterol, serum cholesterol levels, and you can look at the radioactive uptake, iodine uptake of your thyroid gland, how that is working. You can in autoimmune diseases you can detect thyroid antibodies. Increased thyroid hormone is giving you hyperthyroidism, decreased thyroid hormone is giving you hypothyroidism. If you have hyperthyroidism, you need to be treated by anti-thyroid drugs so that less of thyroid hormone is secreted. If you have hypothyroidism, you are given thyroxine as a treatment. You need thyroid hormone in your body for different actions. Okay. So symptoms of hyperthyroidism, they have fine brittle hair, there is hair loss. If eye involvement is there, this gives you Graves' disease, and there are bulging eyes. Okay, see, there are bulging eyes, then there is enlarged thyroid, there is increased perspiration, you feel very hot, there are abnormal heart rhythms, there is enlarged liver, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, there is increased appetite because the BMR is increased, you need more food, you keep on getting hungry. Then there is loss of libido and amenorrhea. You don't have this desire for sexual functions, and your menstrual cycle is almost like not there. So there is irritability, hyperactivity, there is hyperglycemia, there is intolerance to heat, and low serum cholesterol levels. So this all you have studied in physiology also. So these are the symptoms of hyperthyroidism. I told you that if eyes are involved, you have exophthalmos, goiter, sweating, headache, weight loss, nervousness, emotional instability, and muscle weakness, tremors and all. That is the Graves' disease symptoms. Okay. Then there are signs symptoms of hypothyroidism. They are almost like if you feel hot in there, here in hypothyroidism you feel cold. You have that diarrhea and all in hyperthyroidism. You have constipation in hypothyroidism. You have weight loss there. You have weight gain here. Okay, there is poor hearing, poor memory and concentration. Then there is delayed reflex relaxation. Then there is coldness, carpal tunnel syndrome, weight gain, feeling cold, fatigue, shortness of breath. There could be pleural effusion, could be paresthesia, constipation, ascites. You can have menorrhagia, that is lots of blood going on in the menstrual cycle. So this is all about the synthesis of thyroid hormone, its secretion, and how it is transported, and what are the diseases related to excess and excess of thyroid hormone, or if there is no less thyroid hormone. So these are the diseases, hyperthyroidism and hypothyroidism. So in the next lecture we will be talking about parathyroid hormone and calcitonin and all. So thank you very much.